In this video, we're looking at classifying triangles. So there are two ways that we can classify triangles. The first is by their sides. As you can see, there's three different types of triangles here. The second is by their angles, and as you can see, there's three different types here. So we're going to go through each of these. So we're going to start with the sides. So the first way you can classify a triangle is if they all have the same side. So as you can see here, these lines, right? They indicate that each of these sides is the exact same length, right? So that means that there are three equal sides. And we call this triangle an equilateral triangle because their sides are all equal. The next triangle we're going to look at here, you can notice that only two of the sides are the same. And this bottom one is different. You also notice that the two bottom angles are the same. Alright? So this has two equal sides. And this is called an isosceles triangle. And the last classification by sides is when all the sides, as you can see here, they're all different. We have a 1, a 2, and a 3. This has no equal sides. And we call this a scalene. Alright, so now we'll move on to our angles. Here, notice we have three acute angles. So three acute. Now remember, an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So it's smaller than 90. And what we call this is an acute angled triangle. The next one, I'm assuming you can guess what this one is because we have this here. We have a right angle. So this is called a right angled triangle. And the last one here, we have an obtuse angle. So we have an obtuse. And remember, an obtuse angle is between 90 and 180. And we call this, you bet it, an obtuse angled triangle. Alright? So, when we go into classify triangles, we're going to look at some different types of triangles here, and we're going to classify them because you can classify a triangle sides and angles. You can have two different classifications. So, here, in this triangle, we have two different types of classifications. The first is we notice that all the sides are different. Yes, so that is a scalene. But we also notice that we have a right angle here. So what we do is we combine both of these together. So we would call this triangle a right angled scalene triangle. If we go on to the next one here, all the same sides. So this is an equilateral. This is the only version where you really don't need to mention the two different types. You could call this an acute angled, but because it's an equilateral, we just call it an equilateral triangle. We go to the last one here. We notice that the two sides are the same and we have an obtuse angle here. So the first classification would be an isosceles because we have two sides that are the same. And then the second classification is an obtuse angled. So we would call this an obtuse angled isosceles triangle.